the extra protection. It's kind of like seatbelt laws. I know most of the people are younger on this.
But why don't they have a problem with the casino industry? It's a $250 billion industry, and the government has no problem with you throwing your money at a rigged game, but you can't invest in a startup? Like, that's the problem.
That's a very good point. That's a fair point. Look at sports gambling too. It's pretty much become legal in the area that I live.
Let's not go down. Let's not go down that discussion. I want to get final thoughts and wrap up the space because we have another one in a few hours. And Ryan and Scott needs to play golf, and Ryan has got another YouTube show. So we both need to
continue not creating.
Mario, before you go, I know Alan Silbert's been trying to get on, and I think he's somewhere in the crowd. He says, "Let me in." I don't know if there is a speaker request sent to him or.
No, when you get certain numbers, you can't see speaker requests anymore. But let's get Alan up for a final. In the meantime, while getting Alan up, let's get final quick thoughts from BJD. BJ Ditcher Handy Scapegoat.
Hey, Mario.
Hey, bro.
Yeah, just a couple things. First, John, I really appreciate you being here, regardless when we agree and disagree, and I don't entirely disagree with you. But, during our trucking convoy in Canada, we raised $1.2 million in Bitcoin. And because we basically had martial law, that was the only money that was not locked up of the $23 million that we raised in those 3 weeks. Now, I'm pretty much a Bitcoin maxi, but I'm not hostile towards crypto. I think it's good for innovation, and I don't want us to be hostile. If people want to, get involved in crypto, all the best, as long as we're all honest with each other. But I've expressed to all the other senior people in Bitcoin to be really concerned that we don't want this to boomerang against Bitcoin over the long term. That this is just a step in the process to overly regulate Bitcoin. And one of my contacts in the U.S. government, it's a political figure, suggested to me, I got a call earlier this morning about this because I was reaching out to everybody I know. And they said, from what they're hearing, things are not going well with Ripple. This is a Hail Mary just to throw enough shit at the wall, just throw as many lawsuits as possible, and maybe something's going to stick because they're exhausting their resources within the SEC and they're not getting very far. Could you comment on that? What do you think?
John, do you want to take that one?
I'm sorry, I was off for a second. I'm sorry. What's the
XR? Is the XR?
I looked up for a second. I think I missed something.
John, just put it one sentence. Go ahead.
The short version, John, is from contacts I know in the U.S. government. I've reached out over the past few days, and they've told me that the SEC case against Ripple is not going well, not the direction they thought it would, and they're now just throwing enough shit at the wall. Hopefully something will stick, and if it doesn't, it doesn't. If it does, maybe they'll get some headway on this. Can you comment on that?
Now I know why I looked up and checked my email. When you said the word Ripple, I don't like to comment on Ripple because, it just, the threats to myself and my family for anything I've ever said remotely close to criticizing Ripple. But I guess I can say this. Look,
no, I'm not saying to criticize. This is about
I get it.
the SEC.
I get it.
Saying,
I think the Hinman emails and things was really, really bad. What the SEC had done in terms of not being candid with respect to the Hinman emails and the other documents that the other side wanted to see. When I was a criminal prosecutor, I had, and the same thing as the SEC, I had an open jacket policy. I opened my jacket up during the well submission or during when I had a meeting with a criminal defendant and said, look, here's all the evidence against you. Tell me why I'm wrong, because this is America and that's how we do things. And I don't like the way they did that. Having said that, I don't think I think it's a bit of a red herring. I don't think that it's necessarily going to impact the defense. I think that Ripple has some of the most incredibly talented attorneys working for them, a very dynamic group. You have some street fighters, and then you have also some very sophisticated Wall Street former SEC chairman, former SEC director of enforcement. I do think in the end, it's going to be just one district court decision. And, there's sometimes in the cyber program, we would occasionally get a bad decision and we would appeal it and then hopefully turn it around, which is two things that happened. That happened with the Blockfest decision. It also happened with the Doroshko decision. So I don't know that one district court decision is going to change the world. I'm certain that when it comes down, the decision does come down, it will be heralded by either side. Whoever wins is a big, giant victory. I don't think a single district court. I like to sort of look at them all when I'm trying to figure something out as to where the law would go. But I don't think you can ever predict really what's going on behind closed doors with a judge. You know, I was listening to the Grayscale hearing about the Bitcoin spot ETF, and I do think the SEC is going to lose that hearing, but I don't know what the loss will actually mean, you know, because...
Right, well, that's the thing that everybody confuses, right? Grayscale can lose, and then the SEC can just come back and reject on different grounds, or they can even use it as a way to go back and reject already listed future ETFs. I think there's a lot of confusion between...
I have a very serious question. I have a very serious question which may not sound like a serious question. That's why I prefaced it with saying I've got a very serious question. Does the SEC care, or is the SEC limited in resource in any way? So, like, is there a cost consideration here when the SEC gets into these lawsuits? And the reason why I say it is because undoubtedly, I think that they get a lot of settlements, and it feels like a very prosperous business. But does the SEC actually have a limit as to the amount of budget they can spend on legal? Is there someone that says, guys, you're going over your legal budget, or you can't go into this because there's too much legal, or is it a never-ending budget? I really want to try.
What a great question. So I can explain that. I can answer that completely, I think, without any debate. First of all, the SEC is not self-funded. So the SEC gets its funding from Congress. Whatever penalties the SEC collects, whatever disgorgement they collect, whatever monies they collect goes to the U.S. Treasury, unless it goes into what's called a fair fund, which goes back to investors, depending on the relief. So the SEC has no financial incentive to bring cases other than bringing a case that involves a lot of money, gets them good headlines, and makes it seem like they're doing their jobs. But other than that, they don't get to keep it all. They have a fixed budget from Congress, and the budget is comprised mostly of people. So there really isn't much technological infrastructure to the SEC. There aren't any big surveillance. All of that is delegated to the self-regulatory organizations like FINRA. So it's mostly people. So what's happened recently in the area of crypto is the SEC in the most recent budget got 33 new positions for the crypto specialized unit. That's a lot. That probably doubled the size of the unit already, and making it probably the largest specialized unit the SEC has. A chairman comes in typically and says, here are my top 5 priorities, you know, insider trading, financial reporting, crypto, cyber, whatever those priorities are. And then they allocate resources, which just means people, toward those cases. I've looked carefully at the staffing of all of these cases, like the Binance case, like the Coinbase case, like Telegram, like Kick. I know a lot of the people who are on those cases. They're top-notch lawyers. You know, despite what someone said on this call earlier about, you know, a life that's not filled with entrepreneurialism, that's not true. You know, when you work at the SEC, I mean, I created the Office of Internet Enforcement starting with just one person. There's a lot of opportunity for entrepreneurialism in bringing cases, and there's a real spirit that you're making the world a better place. And any time you wanted, you could leave to make, you know, 10 times your salary. And that's true probably for everybody in that crypto specialized unit. But I think you make an excellent point. There does come a point where resources start to become strained because you have one attorney working on 5 different matters, and they all require a lot of attention. But I think there's a certain pride amongst the SEC staff attorneys that, hey, I love taking on the big law firms. If you look at the Kick case, the LBRY case, the case they started to work on against Terra, you look at Telegram case, you know, these are against some of the top law firms in the world. The lawyers representing Binance are 3 of the best lawyers on the planet in terms of securities. Bill Baker, Bill McLucas, Richard Grime. I worked with all 3 of them. Bill McLucas is a legendary enforcement attorney, legendary former director of enforcement. I still get nervous when I'm in his presence because he was like my boss's boss when I was rising the ranks. And these are top-notch people. They're getting paid $2,000 an hour probably to work on these cases. The Ripple legal team has brought in millions. The SEC lawyer does not have, but technology has allowed a big change. When I used to first work on cases, you know, sometimes I worked on a big air defense case, and they would show up with 400 boxes of documents, and I personally would have to look through every box. Now all of that stuff is done electronically. They're able to really leverage technology to do a better job through e-discovery. So that kind of real, back up the truck type of defense doesn't work anymore. In fact, it makes it easier because you can use, Boolean searches to find it. So the short answer to your question is resources are a determination, but clearly this is a priority of Gary Gensler's. Clearly Congress has allocated new positions for the space. So you should expect, more fire and brimstone.
But
Dr.
John,
jump in, Dr.
sorry, one thing. I think that, sorry, Ran. I think basically one of the things that there is a very big take from whatever is happening in the US at the moment, right? There is a massive brain drain that everybody can actually acknowledge. With the way that SEC, I think what you're saying is that they're going to set up a lobby. In a nutshell, that ship has sailed. Because if you look
your connection, sorry to interrupt you, Brian, I don't want to be rude. Your connection is just really, really choppy.
Yeah, we've got
I'll try to bring you down. I'll bring you down and back up so it fix. Yeah, and Alan's up as well. So go to Alan while I fix up Dr. connection.
We've had Alan here for a while. Alan, welcome, man.
Hello. Thank you very much. Yeah, I was sitting in the queue for a while, so I appreciate it. And Bruce, thanks for being my spokesperson in my absence and mentioning INX 10 times. It sounds like you guys are wrapping up, but be happy to have me on next time. INX, yes, we did get a registered security token IPO, and yes, we are registered as a broker-dealer to trade digital securities, and yes, we're a transfer agent, and yes, we have money transmitter licenses. So we've done all of these, quote, impossible things. But, saying that, this is a totally different administration than the last administration. And I say that as a registered Democrat. This is not a friendly administration. We tried to pave the way with the security token IPO. We wanted others to follow us. It did take us 953 days, but hey, you can go carbon copy our prospectus and use that as your starting point. But this administration, I know there's like Reg A's that are toiling in the process and IPOs for security tokens. And they can't be out there in public saying, hey, come talk to us, but then just be totally intransigent and taking an enforcement litigation approach to everything. So, I've been listening to all the bickering and everything back and forth. There's a lot of things I agree with. There's a lot of things I don't disagree with. But this absolutely is not just come in and talk to us administration. So there's absolutely challenges there. We acquired a broker dealer that was already licensed to trade digital securities. And there's been very, very few that have actually gone through the gauntlet and been approved by the FIN and the SEC to be a broker dealer for digital security trading. And if they have been approved, it's very, very limited. I'm guessing in Coinbase's case, they're a licensed DD, but it's probably not specific in their membership agreement that they're allowed to trade digital securities. Is probably, I'm assuming, what's been the issue there. But yeah, there's, we've kind of seen for a long time this is the direction things would go. This is a very overboard administration that is definitely hell bent on just scaring everybody out of the U.S. So yeah, that's, to me, things were, personally, my personal thoughts are, it's pretty straightforward if things are security or not. The Howey test seems very straightforward to me. That being said,
is Solana security?
Well, just let me finish. So in Solana, I don't know in depth enough to know. But
is Ethereum a security?
Yeah, I think it is. I mean, it's the only one that I don't think is Bitcoin, quite honestly. That it is not a security. I mean, it can truly say it's a decentralized protocol. And I mean, maybe there's other ones out there, but none have really proven to be decentralized like Bitcoin has. I mean, Ethereum has, and look, I mean, I'm a big fan of Ethereum, but you have a de facto leadership team of validators, and you have Vitalik that essentially controls things. So, I don't know what the government.
Alan, I'm not sure that's the case anymore. Just sorry, as an aside, before we go further, just Coinbase published a video about 47 minutes ago, and I think it's a really cool video. I'm going to tweet it from my account, and then I'll share it. But it basically talks about the numbers. It talks about the number of jobs at risk, and I'm gonna read you the numbers as it goes. So it says number of times we've mentioned staking in our public S1 report, 57. Number of times we met the SEC in 2022 asking for guidance, 30. Percentage of assets we reject because they don't pass the legal standards, 90. This year, it's going very fast. The year, sorry, let me go back there. The year the test was written that the SEC uses to determine if tokens are securities, 1946. Tech jobs at risk of being driven offshore, 1 million. Countries currently establishing comprehensive rules for crypto, 33. Comprehensive rules that the SEC has established in America, 0. And at the end of it, they say update the system. But I think it's a really, really, really smart marketing campaign by the SEC and by Coinbase. And I think they're taking true leadership here. I mean, if you look at Brian Nawfal and how he came out, and you look at the stuff that they're doing and the stuff that they're spending money on, I mean, it's very good.
But I didn't like finish my thought before about things being somewhat straightforward. But the problem is you have securities laws from 33, 34, and 40, and a Howey test from decades ago that are largely governing things. And so, and the SEC, instead of spending their time honing these things for a new digital economy, they'd rather spend more time on enforcement right now, and it's just it does no good for anybody in this space.
Let's kind of wrap up things. Alex, I give you a final quick words just for the audience. Again, if you want to come on this show, daily show, we're doing it tomorrow as well, and next day and the next day, except weekends because Rand and Scott are lazy. Otherwise, 5 days a week we're doing this. So make sure you join us. If you've got a project, we're still working with projects, still incubating projects. Rand and Scott are lazy.
Have these things called
Don't blame it on don't blame your kids, Rand. Don't blame your kids.
I have a wife. Forget your kids. My kids will be fine. They can feed themselves.
So if you've got a project you want to come on stage, or if you want to sponsor the show, just hit us up. Any of us three, just DM us. Otherwise, we'll see you tomorrow. But Alex, final thoughts for the audience, and I don't want to get into the weeds anymore. I'm kind of sick of the weeds. My question is more broad. What can we expect over the next few months? I was pretty bullish not long ago, despite Operation Chokehold and Rand, just a hot mic, despite the Operation Chokehold, whatever, 2.0. Been pretty bullish. I thought we've seen the worst. And based on the market's reaction now, it seems that what we're seeing is not more than what we've expected. Alex, we'll go to you. Are you bullish, bearish? Where do you stand? Since you got your hand up.
Yeah. So just to start off, I'll first off apologize, John, for calling you a suit and saying you didn't build. I agree that was overstepping, and I appreciate you sharing your opinions on the stage. There's actually a lot of stuff you said in the second half, which I agreed with a lot, actually. It actually seemed different than a lot of things in the beginning. But anyways, appreciate you sharing that. Kind of like Mario, to your point, I think, one thing I would put attention towards that speaks to the future, and John actually alluded to this, is I do think the 2024 election is going to be really crucial for defining what the future of crypto looks like. I personally think crypto, as much as it's a global technology, it goes the way that America goes. If America, turns its back to crypto, I think it would be a mistake. I think we'd lose out on a lot of value capture. So, like, in the medium to long term, I'm really focused on 2024. I won't speculate too much more on like the short to medium term, frankly, just because it seems so volatile right now. I know there's a lot of teams trying to build, and I know there's a lot of chaos, but outside of that, don't have too many opinions in the short term.
Let's go to Machi. You don't have your hand up. Not sure if you have any quick thoughts on what you see happening in the market next. If not, we'll get the calls to wrap it up.
Yo, I just came in here, heard a lot of people fighting. I wanted to jump in and fight too. But
okay, bro.
Yeah,
I brought you up, man. Maybe I'll ask you a more specific question. We don't talk much about NFTs. Scott and Rand would kill me if I do. But can you give us an update on the sentiment within the NFT community, how they're seeing the action against Binance and Coinbase, or they don't really give a shit?
They don't give a shit. Yeah, they're different type of people. Different type of people. But I'm bullish. I'm bullish for sure. And the thing is that wasn't spoken about is the DeFi part with the SEC and regulating. Because DeFi for sure is doing things that are innovative, new tech that no one's ever done before, and it's going to disrupt I'm bullish DeFi. It's going to change the world. It's going to shake JP Morgan, all the bankers, all the stock markets. So those people are the ops, and they do have control. They have a lot of backing. They got a lot of money. Doing any normal business, you're fighting against someone with a huge, unlimited war chest of money, plus the connections within the government. They've lobbied before. They spent money. They built the relationships. They can take a shot. I mean, they're trying to smash down DeFi people. DeFi people are literally creating code that is just unheard of. Look at those perps. Look at all the decentralized exchanges. Anything that's one of our blue chips or our newer, younger players that are killing it, like innovating, check it out. Like, there's no way you could deny that tech is not going to disrupt the entire industry.
Let's go to that two co-hosts, guys. Bullish or bear? Ran, you're always bullish. Like, you're so bullish, always gets annoying at times. I'm being honest. Are you gonna still be bullish now? We're still in a bull market. We're gonna hit $1 million Bitcoin, $1 million Bitcoin by end of year.
No, I'm not delusional. I am naturally bullish. I must say, on the one hand, it's been quite hard to be bullish over the last period. With the SEC attacking crypto and attacking anything that is related to crypto, and at the same time realizing that a lot of the people that have been really bullish on crypto have actually left, and a lot of them have gone to the new lady, which is AI. So like a lot of the friends and fans that were very bullish on crypto are now in AI. And today I read an article. We have a research group. I think you're actually on the research group, and in the research group, people were dropping what Andreessen is now writing about AI, and I kind of feel like, hey, they should be talking about crypto. They should talk like that about crypto. So it is much harder. But if Binance and Coinbase get attacked within 24 hours of one another, and the Bitcoin price returns back to where it was 24 hours ago, and that is 70% up on where we started the year, I don't know how you can tell me we're not in a bull market. Like, if Bitcoin is this resilient, and after starting off a year, I'm just going to measure it for you, so I don't give you false information. Bitcoin's up 61% this year, and Bitcoin is now back at the same level that it was before this whole thing happened. So very hard for me not to be bullish, and I'm even more bullish because, to be honest, the thing that was making me not bullish about the space is the scammers, the meme coins, the real shilling of unregistered securities.
Well, they're still here, man. They're still here, though.
They are falling. They are falling like flies. They're falling like flies. And you know what? I'm a big bull fan of cleaning up the space and getting down to real business.
What do you mean they're falling out like flies? Everything is falling except meme coins, and that kind of got me depressed in the last couple of months. It's like all the value, all the projects, all the VC-backed projects are dropping or barely moving, and then all the liquidity going into all these random meme coins. How can you say they're falling like flies?
Other than Pepe, which is also down a lot from its high. I mean, how many of these meme coins are still around?
I don't know much about meme coins. Machi, is there any around? Isn't there like one called Beneath or something?
There are, but I mean,
not Beneath. What is it called? I forgot what it's called. There's a bunch of them. I muted everyone. Sorry, shit. Machi, is there other meme coins? Is Ran right? Are they all died off, or liquidity is still flowing there?
When it comes to meme coins, that's not my.
Bro,
that's Ran.
Machi, come on, Machi, come on, tell us.
Meme coin guy.
Come on, tell us, bro. Come on, tell us, Machi. Tell us. The king of meme. I'm joking. I'm joking.
Man.
I
build apps. I'm not from the meme.
All right, Ran. So you're still bullish. You're a bit annoyed at the meme coins. But you're typing in our group about something else. So let me go to Scott. Scott, final words, man.
I'm exhausted. No, actually, I'm ready to go. Coyote's got me ready.
Yeah, you're obsessing. Keep obsessing. Our group is full of Scott just saying, "Get me cojones, get me cojones, get me cojones." So we'll get that. We'll try to get the debate going. The Kevin O'Leary versus cojones.
I love a good debate. Yeah, honestly, I don't think most of those people will show up. I mean, it's hard to sum up a conversation that's been happening since 8 o'clock this morning. It's now 2:30 Eastern Standard Time. This started as the finance speeches, which I was actually co-hosting with Donish, and was completely supposed to not be about crypto. And the only thing we talked about, of course, was Binance, and then the Coinbase action dropped, and we rolled into this one. I mean, I tend to agree with Rand's sentiment about the market. The resilience that Bitcoin has shown is absolutely astounding, right? I mean, that basically doubled off the lows. recaptured all of the FTX drop in November. By January, it took 2 months to retrace and for Bitcoin to be back at the same price as it was before FTX. Now we've seen the two biggest imaginable enforcement actions from the SEC, and the price retraced in a day, right? And so I think that this is clearly, we can debate endlessly what this means for the industry, but the market is telling you that it's not a big deal, right? And so if you're concerned about price action, that's really important to view. Otherwise, though, I mean, the thing that just has me shaking my head is that simply have even John, who came up, saying, listen, just vote someone else in and it'll be different, right? And to me, it's just, it goes back to what I constantly say, that this is just a massive dog and pony show, right? I mean,
guys, Scott, sorry to interrupt you, but I've just got an article now that says, it just broke 5 minutes ago. It says, based on this analysis that was done by some legal analyst, he says that the Coinbase could be on the hook for penalties of just over $6 billion. And that's why the Coinbase price just the Coinbase price just took a little bit of a dip. It's back at about $50, but they're starting to quantify these damages.
When did this come out?
8:24 was the article. So 8:24, so it's 8 minutes ago it came out. So 8:24 my time. Yeah, it says, I'm just trying to quickly read through the article. The guy's name is, on Tuesday, Barclays analyst Benjamin Buddy said the SEC suit against Coinbase is largely consistent with his expectations and what the SEC warned the company about in March, but there's more. In the suit, SEC also orders Coinbase to disgorge in all ill-gotten gains resulting from the alleged violations with interest. In other words, the company would be required to pay a penalty totaling the entirety of the revenues generated from the trading and digital asset business. I mean, it sounds like a stretch, but he's quantified it at about $6 billion. It sounds like an absolute stretch. It sounds very similar in nature to when we spoke about yesterday, when we spoke about the SEC or the courts agreeing to freeze Binance's international assets. Now they're talking about $6 billion in potential losses.
What's Coinbase's revenue? Let me check. Check now.
It's like $1.5 billion a year or something like that, but I could be completely.
That's almost revenue. No way.
Well, in bull market, so each year, obviously the things change.
In Coinbase's revenue for 2022 was $3.1 billion. 2021 was $7.8 billion. That's revenue.
I think they were projected at less because of the crypto winter this year. But yeah.
90% plus of their revenue, by the way, is from exchange fees with retail. They're institutional, at least when I read their S1 filing.
So hold on, just 2 seconds. They made a profit of $1.6 billion in 2022, $3.6 billion in 2021. How much cash do they have in the bank? How the fuck will they be able? Obviously, they're not going to be having to pay $6 billion. We'll see how this goes. The court, they settle, but this is like worst case scenario. But still, like if it is $6 billion, it's Coinbase's bye-bye. It's going to be not bye-bye, but it's going to be very tough to pay that off. But again, I don't expect the number to be close to that high.
We ran an analysis on banks and what banks pay, and it's very, very rare to get a settlement of over $1 billion. It's very, very, very high. And also, I mean, look, these are unconfirmed reports and rumors and hearsay, but the discussions that we heard were happening.
How to get to $6 billion? Sorry, Ryan. Don't finish your point. But also, how to get to $6 billion? So that's all the cash they have as of March 31st, 2023.
So again,
the cash was $6.3 billion. Cash and cash equivalents.
In the suit, SEC also orders Coinbase to disgorge all ill-gotten gains resulting from the alleged violations with interest. In other words, the company would be required to pay a penalty totaling the entirety of the revenues generated from trading in digital asset securities. That would be over $6 billion. So basically saying all the trading of, if Coinbase gets their way and the SEC asks Coinbase to disgorge all ill-gotten gains, and the court rules that is what they need to be doing, then it would be $6 billion. In practice, that never, ever happens. Just so we're clear, it never, ever happens. So it's one of these, It's one of these. You know how the legal guys work. They go for the jugular, and then everything, and they work their way down from there.
Cool. All right, guys. I want to wrap up the space.
Yeah,
I
let's
need
cut
to
it.
rest.
We've
I
been here
appreciate it
for a
all.
while. Yeah.
We'll see you
Lovely
tomorrow. Yeah, we'll see you all tomorrow. Scott, your debate with Mark was fucking epic. It was the best part of the show.
Yeah.
Otherwise,